Hello, 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 and welcome to Casual Krakoa. Hey, everybody. I'm Dave Busing, founder and editor-in-chief of comicbookherald.com. You are listening to Casual Krakoa here for comics released on June 9, 2021. We're going to talk today about X-Men number 21, Excalibur number 21, Children of the Atom number 4. These were the 3 issues released today as part of the ongoing Mutant Hellfire Gala, as we get one step closer to planet-size X-Men and some actual, probably actual reveals about what's coming next for Mutant Kind. For now, though, we have a ton of theories. Hey, everybody, if you are with me on the live stream, please confirm if you can hear everything okay and if the audio is coming through clearly. And also, as I'm going through, definitely let me know your questions, your comments. I'd love to see it here in the chat. That we should have the super chat available. If you use that, I will 100% make an effort to answer your question as well. And, thanks so much for your support, both monetarily, but also just in terms of liking the channel, subscribing, commenting, interacting here on the live stream. All of that is tremendously encouraging and encourages me to continue doing these weekly Casual Krakoas. So we are coming through loud and clear. Let's get going then with Casual Krakoa here. And this one is going to be primarily, if you couldn't tell from the visual, Sinister secrets based, okay? I'm going to go through each of the Sinister secrets presented in X-Men number 21 in detail, one by one, okay? Before we get there, I think what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about the comics that came out today, and then we'll go heavy on Sinister secrets. So 3 issues out today as the Hellfire Gala continues. Essentially X-Men number 21 is the big one because that is the final issue. That is the final comic that has been released in the Jonathan Hickman X-Men run, okay? Not the final Jonathan Hickman written X-Men comic, as I have had to caveat and clarify over and over again. It is simply issue 21 is the last that he's going to be writing on the X-Men title for the time being. He will be back in September writing Inferno with Valerio Schiti, R.B. Silva, and Stefano Caselli in what should be a super exciting book. I mentioned this on the X-Men number 21 Casual Krakoa that I did. I did a full video for that issue. But Inferno, that 4-issue event, people are like, oh, it's only 4 issues. Hickman seems like he's checked out. It's 40 pages. It's 160 pages total across 4 issues. That chops up to approximately 40 pages per issue. That's a massive comic, all right? That's basically an 8-issue event that he's writing. It's teased as the sequel to House and Powers, okay? So it's bypassing Ten of Swords. They're like, yeah, Ten of Swords was an event. Hellfire Gala, that's an event. But those are sub-events, okay, in this era of X-Men, right? You have House and Powers is an event. That's an X-Men event. Ten of Swords, Hellfire Gala, those are the sub-events that keep the chains moving, right? Keeps everything going back to Inferno on the House and Powers level. Now, will it be that good? Obviously, time will tell. But it's going to be trying to tackle what is going on with Mutant Kind and what is actually happening with all these mysteries that we have, of course, been theorizing about. And that's what I like to do here on Casual Krakoa. So, as has been the case in the past weeks, if you watch the Kraken Krakoa videos I do, those are a little more review focused. Obviously, historically, I do theories there as well. I'm going to try and take more of these sort of just off-the-cuff theorizing about what's going on with X-Men comics here in these Casual Krakoas. So a great time to share your ideas, your theories as well. I'd say there are no bad theories, but that's not true. There are some very bad theories that I see propagated frequently amongst X-Men fandom. The first of which, and I've talked about it here plenty of times, is the idea that X-Men, the Hickman run, is ending with Inferno. It's not ending. It's not ending with Inferno. Barring a disaster, barring a tragedy of sorts, the plan is so clearly here meant to extend beyond whatever happens in Inferno, okay? And I think X-Men number 21, it doesn't really tell us a ton, honestly, about what's going to happen in Inferno. It more than anything, it's a little setup for planet-size X-Men. But just, I have a lot of faith right now in the fact that Inferno is going to be very meaningful and very exciting for what's to come for X-Men comics. I don't expect this to be a conclusion. I don't even think it's a denouement. I don't even think I think we're still rising, right? We're still going up for this era and where things are going to go. Truly, like that's what I think. Good comment here from the Cerebra saying that the Hickman issues are going to be 40 pages each, but it's going to be 10 pages of data pages each issue, which honestly probably true. Probably true. That's a fair point. You know what though? I love my data pages. I love my data pages. I will definitely stand up against anyone who is opposed. I will say I love my Hickman data pages. This doesn't extend to all writers. Okay, this does not extend to all creators in the X line because some individuals definitely they don't have it. They don't have it when it comes to the world building. But let's go. Let's talk about what happened in X-Men number 21 today. And then we'll talk about. Let's talk about the Hellfire Gala issues that aren't Sinister Secrets related, and then we can move back. So all right, so you can't see the full visual here, but I put together a graphic. I'm going to be sharing this out. I shared it out on all the Comic Book Herald social. You'll be able to find it on comicbookherald.com soon. Again, check links in the show notes for ways to access my stuff. But I put together a graphic that is going to show the Hickman X-Men run in full. I categorized all of the issues that he's written and all of the seeds that he's planted by category, okay, by type. So we're going to have World of X, Ten of Swords, Nimrod's Destiny, Children of the Vault, and X-Men Cosmic. Trust me, this looks a lot better when you can see the whole thing. And again, I will be sharing this out, and basically it's a way to sort of make sense of the Hickman X-Men run. The reason I share it here off the bat is to say I'm going to be doing a video coming soon that is a full review of the Hickman X-Men run to date from House and Powers through to X-Men number 21. Basically, we're at a really nice stopping place here, right? Like X-Men number 21 is the last Hickman written issue in his X-Men run. It's going to be the last issue for a handful of months before he's back with Inferno. It's a good stopping place to stop and take stock of what has actually happened here, what has been seeded, what has been delivered upon, and that's what this graphic will get you. So if you're interested in that, again, it's like on all the Comic Book Herald stuff. Definitely go check it out. I highly recommend it. Now, in the Hellfire Gala, where we were today, X-Men 21, the big thing, if you haven't watched the video yet, spoilers for talking about what happened in the comics today. If you haven't read anything, you don't want to be spoiled, this is not going to be the best live stream for you. It's going to be one to avoid. But, okay, in X-Men 21, the big things that happened, there's a handful. But in terms of like getting us to answers for what is actually going down at the Hellfire Gala, there's a tease at the very end of everything when Emma's giving her big speech at the end of the night. The fireworks are going off in the Hellfire Gala, which has been told very narratively kind of out of order. Kind of the chronology is all over the place. We got timestamps and these sorts of things. But we see mutants on Mars. All right, the Omega level mutants, they're led by Quentin Quire. They go through a Krakoan portal. They're pretty clearly going to Mars, and they're doing some Omega level mutant business on Mars. This is something that we've been talking about. I've been talking about Casual Krakoa's. Fans have been talking about for months and months, if not years and years. The idea that the X-Men would be terraforming Mars is not particularly new, honestly, or particularly exciting. If that's what it is, okay, let's go from there. I'm hopeful that there's more to it. I think the fact that it is exclusively Omega levels is very interesting to me, because again, it's like, it could just be an instance, it could just be an iteration of the basically like mutant technologies, right? We have this idea both in Hickman X-Men as well as like Al Ewing's Sword of mutant technologies, which is just mutants combining their powers in unique ways. Well, what if 10, 11 of the Omegas, I guess it'd be like 10, combine their mutant powers, right? And what can they do? Can they, we say, like, I feel like terraforming gets thrown around a lot from myself included, from people who are like, if you had to explain that, like, what would that mean? It's making Mars habitable, but like, what if the Omega level mutants can go beyond that? I don't know. Like, can they create a truly mutant planet or something, right? So there's hopefully there's a twist to terraforming Mars. Hopefully there's more to it than just like, hey, we're creating a mutant colony. Isn't that cool? Because that alone, to me, one, it's been predicted for a long time. So like, it's not as exciting as you'd want it to be. We know mutant kind already has like facilities on Mars. They're already growing Krakoan drugs there. We've seen that in issues of Marauders. Also, like, this is the Marvel Comics universe. We've seen in Hickman's Avengers, like Ex Nihilo, right? We've seen characters that live on Mars. We know about Thor from Asgard. We know about Star Fox from a moon of, on Titan, right? And like, we know about aliens. We've seen Galactus show up. The Marvel universe, if you're a civilian there, you just saw Empire in the Kree Skrull War above, up in your head, above your heads in space, right? So like, the idea of a mutant colony on Mars, I mean, for where we are now, like maybe that's only possible for like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, right? Like, but for the Marvel Universe, that's not actually that astonishing in and of itself. So to have gotten the reaction that like society and that the humans at the Hellfire Gala got in Marauders number 21, where we saw businessmen running out of there, like sell everything. The mutants have changed the game. To me, it's like, all right, if they just announce like, hey, we're gonna hang out on Mars too, that probably doesn't do it. That probably doesn't do it. Just be like, hey, they're doing Dr. Manhattan cosplay up on Mars. Like they're really authenticating it. It's really specific and it's very well done. I don't think that changes the game quite the same way. So that's why I think my initial theory that Emma and the Hellfire Gala could be revealing more like resurrection based reveals, I think are still in play. I think that sort of thing would actually astonish them. Or something totally new. Like I want to see Duggan and LaRaz bring it with Planet-Size X-Men with something that no one has said yet, with something that no one has predicted. Because again, like I like to theorize and I like to predict things that I think are coming in these X-Men comics. But if I get them all right, that's really boring, And I haven't. Like that's the thing is like there are certain things that I'm more ahead of the curve on than others, right? If you've been following Casual Krakoa on the CBH YouTube channel, like I've obviously like I was probably ahead of everyone on my video Hickman's X-Men are going to conquer the galaxy. Pat myself on the back a little bit on that one, but like that's also just reading the tea leaves. That's also just like reading thoroughly and obsessively what's going on in these comics. The creators are the ones actually doing the heavy lifting and thinking of the new things, and I fully expect and hope that Planet-Size X-Men brings something that no one here has quite gotten yet, because certain pieces, like terraforming of Mars, like going galactic, like trying to establish an empire, like a true mutant empire. I mean, I think that's maybe a piece that is under discussed here is look at the civilizations, the empires that we know in the Marvel Universe. You have the Shi'ar, right? That's a galactic empire. The Kree, the Skrulls, now combining right under the leadership of Teddy Altman. But like look at the Shi'ar in particular. They have planets they control. Lots of them, right? They have what we saw in Powers of 10 labeled, these sorts of titans, right? Dominions, right? I don't know what their actual status level would be, but like approaching those levels of galactic clusters of combined intelligences potentially, that's what mutant kind is trying to ascend to. Like ruling Earth, being safe on Earth is step 0.1 on a 100-step plan, in terms of having the kind of power and the kind of ascension that is required to get to what Moira has seen in Life 6, where she made it to year 1,000, right, give or take. So I think to me, if what we see Omega levels do on Mars, like if the announcement is, hey, we did this here on Mars, and that's, again, like that's step 1, that's a small step in our plan, that's interesting to me. That's interesting. That's where I think mutant kind needs to go. And that's why I think Professor X and Magneto on their plan can be a little more cavalier about what's going on Earth. They can be a little more cavalier because they're like, our sights are set so much bigger than all of this small stakes stuff. And I think that's potentially interesting as well. So, all right, let's talk about the spinoffs because X-Men number 21, I think big picture too, like, I'm going to do the full Hickman X-Men review kind of thing, but like, it's a weird run. It's a strange run. It definitely is. I mean, it's like I said, it's very segmented between different kinds of ideas. I mean, even this issue is like, it's just seeds and seeds. It's just planting. Like this issue follows up on a conversation with Namor that we saw in Powers, but it does so in such a way that basically nothing has changed. It just kind of reiterates the status quo between the two, right? Like Namor's still not going to play ball with the mutants. He's still like, no, you don't have anything to offer me. I see myself as a king of Earth. I don't want to sit on your council. That's nothing to me. Nothing has changed yet, right? It's almost like they had that conversation too early, maybe intentionally, maybe on purpose. I don't know. Maybe after the reveal of Planet Size, maybe Namor is more intrigued, right? But it's a slow moving thing. It is. It's a slow moving issue. I'm excited about the potential of it all. I do think the Hellfire Gala. I think X-Men Office, I think they overplayed their hand a little bit in terms of making Marauders, X-Men red. Like clearly there's your essential Hellfire Gala issues, and again, like so far, you don't need the tie-ins. You don't, unless you're already enjoying the series. You don't need the tie-ins. If you're already enjoying it, great. Like you should read Hellions. amazing comic book. I enjoyed X-Force last week. There's small little data here and there that is useful in each of these, but it's like you can read just these main red ones, you're fine. But in terms of it being red, all important, Marauders and X-Men didn't actually reveal things. They just set the stage to reveal the things in Planet Size, right? And that's a little, they overplay their hand a bit. You know, that's your kind of, not to like denigrate the status of the red highlighted reading order. You know, it was so trustworthy, and now can we even trust it anymore? But it's fine. It's a solid comic. It's not super special on its own terms, you know, and I think that's probably when I do the full Hickman X-Men video, I think that's one thing that is going to stand out is like there's a lot of issues, there's a lot of stories that aren't super clear or super special on their own terms, but when you connect them as seeds to bigger picture stuff, they become a lot more interesting. And I think that's kind of Hickman's style in the Marvel universe, and that's what we're seeing here as well. So okay, let's talk about the actual tie-ins, like I've been teasing here for a minute. Let's start with Children of the Atom. We had issue number 4 came out today. Again, spoilers for Children of the Atom number 4 if you haven't read it. Children of the Atom. It is. I like that the art change has been helpful. We got Paco Medina here with Vita Ayala. Again, Vita Ayala writing one of my favorite X-Men books with New Mutants. Had an interview with artist Rod Reis, this past weekend, live on Casual Krakoa. Ayala and Rice are doing amazing work on New Mutants. Children of the Atom, definitely not on that level, okay? It's lower tier for me, and a big part of that is it's very reveal-based. This comic is going to be very, very, essentially, I think, more or less judged based on, okay, what is the actual status of these kids who are running around, you know, kind of getting the assessment, like the news and organizations are calling them the young X-Men, but we know they're not actually mutants, or at the very least, they can't actually use the Krakoan gates, right? Every implication is they're not actually mutants. So in issue number 3, we saw a few things that made this series a lot more interesting to me. One was the appearance of Gorilla Man, which was wild, which actually is something that kind of gets doubled up on here, which is this idea of Marvel Universe science that allows individuals to graft different body parts onto themselves. Gorilla Man, who's a doctor who shows up in Children of the Atom, who is responsible for one of the kids that the Children of the Atom kids are trying to befriend, basically, and they think he might be a mutant, and Gorilla Man's involved, right? Okay, so that's fun. If you've read your Steve Gerber 70s Defenders, that's interesting. Now, in issue number 4, we see the not mutants, right? The not mutants captured by the U-Men. Now, the U-Men, to my knowledge, we haven't seen in a good long while. This is a Grant Morrison, Lionel Francis Yu concept from New Mutants Annual 2001, I believe it is. I think it's like very early in the New Mutants run. I think it's like E is for Extinction, this annual, then back to like issue 117, right, in New Mutants, in the Morrison run. And the U-Men are the followers. They are the devotees of John Sublime, who is this sort of religious, cult-like leader who establishes a philosophy that I think is, what does he call it? It's the third race, the third species. And it's humans with mutant parts attached, okay? It's like human organ or mutant organs grafted onto human beings in order to give themselves powers, to give themselves mutant abilities, essentially. And they're crafting sort of this religious cult around creating this human mutant combination that will ultimately achieve like the perfect state of man kind of thing, right? So, and that is definitely thematically relevant to what we've seen in Powers of 10, you know, in some of the future timelines. We have seen Hickman tease out, you know, these cults of, you know, a man-machine combinations, right? And basically you have man, you have machine, you have mutant. You can see all the variations of combinations that are possible between those in terms of achieving like some sort of perfect state. The U-Men are a man-mutant combination, okay? And we see them return here, I think, after a long time away, and you can pretty quickly see how they might tie to the Children of the Atom, because the Children of the Atom are seemingly these individuals who badly want to be mutants. They badly believe they belong with mutant kind. They worship them as heroes. You know, we see here in one of the kids' basements, like, they have Wolverine posters all over the wall. They have Deadpool posters all over the wall, which Deadpool, technically not a mutant. But it's like they want to be mutants so badly. I don't know. I don't know quite what the metaphor is at this point without knowing what the actual reveal is going to be. I think the introduction of the U-Men, the introduction of Gorilla Man, the introduction in issue 3 of these kids basically like finding their tech through some sort of accidental spaceship ride that is still very mysterious. Like, there's a lot of teasing of stuff that's like, okay, this could get interesting, but it's also like, at pacing wise, I think it needed to come out of the gates more clearly. I do, because there was a lot of hesitation around what is this book, what is its role in Krakoa, and I think through 4 issues it hasn't answered those questions particularly effectively. I think almost certainly it will with issue number 5. I mean, the Krakoan for the next issue reads Secrets Revealed, and I think, like, okay, if by the end of your first trade you've answered it, that's great. I think it's relying on patience that this title didn't have. You know, and I talked about with the Hickman run, there's an earned patience to that comes with years of having delivered stories where you know certain things are going to pay off. And Children of the Atom, creative units, the concept, it doesn't have that. So I think the fact that we're 4 issues in and it's kind of like, all right, there's these kind of odd stuff going on, but I still don't really know what the intended metaphor is, what the intended role of these young kids is supposed to be. I don't see it yet. Maybe a lot of people do. Maybe readers who are enjoying it do. Like I said, I've enjoyed issue 3 and 4 more than I enjoyed the first 2 issues, for sure. So I'm definitely going to read issue 5. I'm curious how it plays out. I think the idea that when I talk about, you know, not being necessarily like super essential to the Hellfire Gala experience, I mean, this just happens to occur during the Hellfire Gala. The young Children of the Atom kids find out about that, and they're like, oh, maybe that's our chance because humans are going to be at the gala kind of thing. So it's like very loosely tied in. You know, it doesn't even take place at the gala. Okay? So, you know, I'm curious. I am curious what people think about it. I think it's like, it's also one of those books too, and I'm try to be very cognizant of this, where it's like, this is written for younger audiences. It's younger, you know, high school age characters. I'm not that anymore. That's fine. So if it's just a book for different audiences, by all means. But I think it's going to be so reveal heavy. And I'm curious to see whether or not it can stick the landing. Because there's a lot of pressure on it. You know, the same way there's a lot of pressure right now on Planet-Size X-Men. There's a lot of pressure on Planet-Size X-Men right now and on Dugan and Larraz to stick the landing of what this reveal is going to be. I have a healthy amount of confidence. I do. I think they're actually going to pull it off. But again, a lot of pressure right now because the builds to this point have been coy. They have not been direct. There's a lot of pressure on that issue, so I hope they can stick it. All right. So speaking of tie-ins, we have Excalibur number 21. Didn't do it for me. Did not do it for me. Continues to not do it for me. And to all the Excalibur heads, I know you like the book. It's all right. You can like the book. People can do that. The one major takeaway that I got from Excalibur number 21 was we do actually see Jamie Braddock on Mars doing Omega level business. So we actually get our best view of what the Omegas are doing on Mars in Excalibur. And we also see the Coven Akaba resurrecting or reviving essentially Morgan Le Fay from her. She's been imprisoned on the same table in what used to be Apocalypse's lab in Monarch's, monarchy castle, and I guess she's free now. Okay, so Morgan Le Fay is free. There's a lot I could say about Excalibur, about like what I wish it was that is not super useful. I wish it was a different thing. I do. Like, I look at the way magic could be handled on a mutant level. Yeah, I mean, even look at a book like A Strange Academy from Marvel right now, or just think about the players. You know, forget Scarlet Witch because she wouldn't be allowed, but like literally look at Magic ending with a K. And I was thinking about this. So Marvel teased the death of Doctor Strange is coming this fall. Okay, that's going to be an event. It's going to be written by Jed MacKay. So I'm pretty interested. Jed MacKay is a really good writer, writing a great Black Cat series. And one of the first things I thought of is the Leah Williams written What If Magic Became the Sorcerer Supreme from like 2018. It's a really good comic. It's a really good issue, but it's also like, oh yeah, magic is super connected to magic. And I just wish Excalibur, like if it's going to talk about magic so much, that it had more Marvel, more mutant, like magicians, like people who deal with that stuff involved in it. I think it would be a lot more interesting book instead of like Gambit, who has nothing to do with that stuff. You know, and like you have Richter, I guess, filling that role right now. Just super like mad at everyone that Apocalypse got. He treats it like Apocalypse got left behind. Apocalypse made a choice. But regardless, you know, from people who love Excalibur, I mean, more power to you. But it's not the book for me. But you know, big stuff's happening here. On a Krakoan level here, we find out basically that the what do they call themselves? Great Britain are not going to be aligning with Krakoa anymore, which is I guess kind of a big reveal. So there's stuff happening in Excalibur. That's definitely a book where stuff is happening. All right, let's get to Sinister Secrets. In X-Men number 21, we have 2 pages of Mr. Sinister's Bar Sinister secrets. Okay, and this is big because we haven't seen any since Marauders. These debuted in House of X and Powers 10. Right, that's when we saw the first Sinister Secrets. They have famously teased such things as the impending Inferno event. So to people who said to me things like, you know, oh, you called an Inferno event. I didn't really. I just read Sinister Secrets and then extrapolated from there. I think Sinister Secrets 51 through 60, what is interesting about that numbering is the last we saw from Marauders was like in the 20s. So we're missing several pamphlets. We're missing several handouts of Sinister Secrets that I'll be curious if we see again. I think we missed some, okay? But let's go through them one by one here and see if we can't solve these Sinister Secrets on the fly. Because I think, again, we have 51 through 60 here. There's only like one that I don't even really have an idea. But everything else, I'm like, I think I got it. If you have questions, if you have thoughts here, get them in the chat. I'll talk through them on the live stream. Again, Super Chat is available. Thank you so much to those of you who have contributed to the Super Chat so far. Not even with questions, just with your generous support. That is super nice. Thank you so much. All right, so let's talk through Sinister Secret number 51. Okay. The Quiet Council member isn't actually fooling anyone. They're fooling everyone. Wear a mask long enough, and eventually it starts wearing you. Such a shame not being able to let things go. Now, my initial reaction, spelled with an X, to this was, it sounds like Mystique. Somebody who looked different, fooling people. But no, there's more mystery to it than that. And now I can't unsee the fact that this is describing Professor X. Okay? He's fooling everyone. Who's got the sort of platform to talk to everyone and fool everyone? It's Professor X. Who's been wearing a mask for a long time. Professor X always got the Cerebro helmet on. And eventually it starts wearing you. That's interesting. Now, the twist here, I think, is that Professor X, who's actually fooling everyone? Is it Professor X playing a game? Or is it his dearly departed sister, Cassandra Nova? Okay? I think this is all but confirming that Cassandra Nova is either in charge of the Professor X body or they are conjoined and working together. I just think it's a lock based on the way this text reads. Cassandra Nova, for those of you who are less familiar, she is the twin sister of Professor Charles Xavier, who Professor Charlie tried to kill in the womb. Okay, this was during the Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely famous silent issue of New X-Men number 121, which, lo and behold, Jonathan Hickman, Russell Dowderman, and Matthew Wilson paid homage to with giant-size Jean Grey and Emma Frost in their silent issue, which was literally just a riff on this, except saving Storm. Cassandra Nova, she returns in New X-Men in the Morrison run. She possesses Professor X. She takes over. She does, she's like, infiltrates the Shi'ar. The idea that Cassandra Nova could be in control of Professor X is something that has been teased as long as Professor X has been acting weird, you know, in House and Powers. Like, there's no Like, it's not super surprising that this might be out there. It's a character I've talked about plenty. It's a character that I think very much needs to be involved, again, given Hickman's affinity for New X-Men and for Grant Morrison. You know, like, there are two runs that Hickman clearly likes and pulls from. It's Grant Morrison's New X-Men, and it's Mike Carey's X-Men run. Okay? Those are the two. And then the sort of decent respect that one must hold for the Claremont era, right? Like, that's a given. But it's the Morrison and Carey runs, and Cassandra Nova is obviously a big player that we haven't seen anything of. We have not seen hide nor hair of Cassandra Nova. Nobody has talked about her. We haven't seen a thing. It's got to be. I really think it has to be Cassandra Nova who we're talking about as the one who's going to be revealed. And I think, too, like, this line's such a shame not being able to let things go. They were conjoined twins. Like, they were in the womb. Can they not even let things go now? It feels like a lock. Hey, if you got different theories for Sinister Secret number 51, let me know. But I cannot stop seeing Cassandra Nova and Professor X. And this would also very much given out to, I think, all the people who are like, hey, Professor X is acting weird, right? Like, Professor X sure seems like he's weird. I think there are in-story reasons that you could definitely make the case for why Professor X is acting certain ways without doing a Cassandra Nova thing. But I'd be a little surprised if, given this, if there wasn't a Cassandra Nova role to play. I really would. I mean, it could be, too. It could be a much simpler version of this, which is just that, like, Professor X is working with Moira, secrets behind the scenes that nobody knows about. It's corrupting them. They've changed. Moira talked about in her journal entries, like, I fear that I've broken Charles. Let me take that again. I fear that I've broken Charles, right? And, like, it could be the simple version of this is a changed Professor X based on what he's seen from Moira Lifelines, but I'd love it if it was Cassandra Nova related. All right, we got some questions here in the super chat that I want to address before I go to Sinister Secret number 52. Do you think we might get Sinister Secrets in Moira's 11th life if we get it? I love these Wednesdays. Thank you to you and everyone else joining. Thank you so much. Glad you're enjoying the Casual Krakoa, and thank you for joining as well. So I was actually thinking about the Sinister Secrets thing with the Moira's 11th life earlier today, and one theory I have that is not fleshed out even a little bit is, what if these Sinister Secrets are coming from Life 11 already? What if these are actually written from Life 11? Because there's a certain omniscience to everything that Sinister is saying. And we all kind of joke. We're like, oh yeah, Sinister knows everything. Ha ha ha. But it's like, but how? But how? Do they know these are written, like, there's a certain meta commentary to this as well, where it's like basically Hickman writing directly to the readers, when he's the one writing them, about what's to come in X-Men stories. But it actually potentially makes a lot more sense if somehow Sinister, like, maintains knowledge, like maintains a thread of memory from Life 10 through to Life 11, and that these Sinister secrets that we're seeing are actually shared out in Life 11 when we get there. All right? Wild theory. I haven't fully thought it out, but I kind of think that would make more sense. We got a question here, too. Could this be about Emma being a hero? I kind of think, yeah. I mean, I think, when you're talking, more specifically about the... Oh, are we talking about Sinister Secret number 51? Well, I think broadly speaking, with the Hellfire Gala, with Emma's role in what's to come, like in Inferno, I think there's going to be a certain righteous indignation in Emma's cause that is going to be very easy to identify with, essentially, right? Because I think what Emma's going to see, she's going to see a lot of the injustices done. She's going to see a lot of the evils perpetrated in like Krakoa's name. We've already seen it with her kind of seeing what Beast is up to with Terra Verde, right? She's already got eyes on that. I think she's going to have eyes on what they've done to Mystique and Destiny, right? And kind of the failings there with Nimrod. I think Emma Frost is, right now, of the major players, Professor X, Magneto, Moira, and then you're going to have like Mystique and Destiny and Emma Frost, I think kind of in one camp, maybe we throw Sinister, or maybe we throw Legion in that camp. I think Emma's probably going to be the easiest one to sort of identify with and be like, oh yeah, she's right. So I definitely see that role for her in the coming stories. I don't think Sinister Secret 51 is about her because there are others that are. And including number 52, which is, this is about Emma, okay? The secret reads, she doesn't have it yet, but one way or another, this mutant always gets what she wants. Will it be given to her or will it have to be taken? At this point, I was thinking Mystique, but then it says, doesn't matter. The real question is, what's in the box? What's in the box? Could it be diamonds or something far more valuable? I would have thought Mystique on this one, but in X-Men number 21, we see Emma procuring a mysterious box, and we have no idea what's inside. Googling the words that are used to describe the box gave me a city in Turkey and the Turkish word for dark, which tells me nothing. So I don't know what's inside the box, but it's definitely a part of Emma's scheming, and I'm loving Emma's scheming. Like, big picture. Like, I love whatever she's up to here. It is interesting because in Marauders 21, we saw Emma get that shipment of logic diamonds from the Shi'ar, and it was like she didn't remember getting them, right? She was like, what? Who did that? And there were some theories at the time that I thought were pretty good, which was like, oh, maybe that's Mystique masquerading as Emma to get access to these logic diamonds and create her own Cerebro kind of machine, right? Which I think is a cool theory. It doesn't work with this box, though, with that actually being Mystique, because Mystique is in the panel, and she's just, stink-eyeing everybody, okay? So it doesn't work with this one for Mystique to have been, appearing as Emma throughout the whole thing, all right? Sinister Secret, number 53. I bet you'd like to know how this fittest of all mutant is handling the second genesis of his external life. Sorry, you'll have to wait to find out. This one's pretty easy. That's a tease for Apocalypse in Amenth post Ten of Swords. This is basically just Hickman telling us it's going to be a while before we see him again, which kind of appreciate, actually. Like, I don't have to theorize or pretend that Apocalypse is showing up at Inferno, at least is how this sounds. Going back to the theory about Sinister Secrets coming from Moira's 11th life, would Life 11 set up the same Ten of Swords scenario? This is something I've been thinking about recently, right? So, like, when Krakoa fails, when Life 10 fails, and we get the reset button, and we do X-Men Moira Life 11, when that happens, not if, will the things that we've read so far extend? Will they carry through? Will Ten of Swords have played out the same way, and we'll jump into the ball game deeper into the narrative after all these things have been set up? Because otherwise, we have all these seeds that are waiting for a long run in Life 10. You know what I mean? Like the return of Apocalypse from Amenth. If we jump to a Life 11 before that happens, we never get that. So it's a really interesting setup when we get to Life 11 of potentially being like, yeah, this is the new Life 11, and Moira and Professor X and everybody in Destiny this time, or however it works out, they're like, they did things exactly the same, up to this point. What is the breaking point where they're like, oh, actually, we have to do that one different? That is, I think, maybe a key question to figuring out like what the grand plan is ultimately. But I do expect we'll see Apocalypse back from Amenth, and I'm excited for it. All those characters coming back. You got mutants in Amenth. They got to come back at some point. So, all right, secret number 54. Seducer made an honest man to the island's favorite boy, but what unspoken secrets are coursing through the nervous system of the favorite boy's island friend? Are you listening? I know that you are. Okay. This definitely initially sounds like Sinister is teasing that Krakoa has secrets of its own. Remember, Krakoa is a sentient island. It is not just a space for mutants to live. It is a sentient island. This could be teasing things like Sabretooth in exile. Like, what is the secret underbelly of Krakoa? What is Krakoan no space? What is going on in X-Force with those, like, I don't know what you'd call them, like cancerous tumors, that are falling off of Krakoa. There are secrets to the actual island and its thoughts, again, sentient island, that we don't really have any insight to, okay? There's a lot to learn about Krakoa itself that I don't know where or when we're going to get that. It kind of seems like an Inferno type event might be the only place. Like, there's not really a book where that works. I think another possibility here is it could also be referencing Warlock, okay? Because if you look at the language, which is pretty obtuse, I think intentionally. Unspoken secrets coursing through the nervous system of the favorite boys, that's Doug, Island, Krakoa, friend. Now, if you read that as Island friend, hyphenated, it's Krakoa. Krakoa and Doug are friends. But if you read that as just like one of the favorite boys' friend, well, historically that's Warlock. Longtime New Mutant, another character that we really have not seen a ton of. And I think realistically, there are Warlock-based secrets that we have not seen delivered upon really to date as well. Could this be Phalanx related? Could this be, related to that scene in House and Powers, which I will never let go, which is Doug with his Warlock arm touching a Krakoan leaf and turning it all phalanxy? It's very possible. It could be either or. It could be both. Because like Krakoa and Warlock might be intersected and related in a way where now it's like, hey, what are these phalanx secrets that Krakoa is hanging on to, right? So I think it's definitely tied into probably both those things. And then I think Sinister's line, "Are you listening? I know that you are." Again, I think that's are we approaching a Krakoa lock situation, or are we already there? Again, we have not seen a ton of Warlock. He's in New Mutants, and I think actually the Hellfire Gala issue, we'll talk about it a little bit. But, time will tell. All right, Sinister Secret number 55. Regarding secrets and secret alliances, shadow play that is the great game of nations, how many ruling councils are circling the sun? If you say 2, you're definitely too low. So we know about 2. We know about Krakoa, Quiet Council. We know about Arakko, the Great Ring. Here are the others. We have Orcus for humanity with Henry Peter Gyrick, we know involved. We have what I was reminded of today in X-Men number 21, the Illuminati for the hero set, right? With Reed Richards, Black Panther, Namor, was Professor X, Doctor Strange, Iron Man, right? And then I think potentially you could have like a secret shadow cabal of like Mystique, Sinister, Emma, Legion, Destiny, once she's brought back, that sort of thing. But, I think the general idea there is like there's a lot of circles of people planning for how the world is going to go. Are there more than that? That would be interesting. Those are definitely the ones that stand out to me. Let's find the next set. Sinister Secret number 56. Okay, what is this one talking about? Empty seats on the Quiet Council. This one's pretty straightforward, I think. Basically just like, the Quiet Council seats need to be filled. I mean, this has been true since Ten of Swords, right? Who should take the new seats, for as long as they last, which I don't anticipate will be that long. It's kind of one of those things, too, where it's like, all right, with Inferno, I don't think the Quiet Council is really going to matter. Like, it's going to get split. Like, like people on the Quiet Council, Mystique, Emma, they're going to go form their own nation, I suspect. And like whoever's on the Quiet Council, like there's just going to be tons of openings. But in the meantime, who could fill out some of these? I think Banshee could make a lot of sense. Again, Emma, we've seen kind of having some words with Banshee again. I think like whether they're talking about starting a new school, Gen X style, or just getting Banshee involved with the council, I think that would make a ton of sense. You also have like some Arakko players, I think would be great. They don't seem that interested. Like maybe finally Iska's like, all right, let's put one of you in the council just to sort of like learn what they're doing, play, kind of espionage, which would be a good touch. I think more Arakko in general would be an awesome thing. I'm sure we'll get there. But I think one of them could fit on the Quiet Council pretty well. Secret number 57. We have, I'm not going to read the whole thing for this one, but basically, clearly this is about Betsy and Quinone from the pages of Hellions and Excalibur. Sinister has been pushing Psylocke way too far in Hellions. He knows it, okay? He knows it. And eventually she's going to come for him. How many more Sinister demands will be too many? Probably not that many, right? Like Quinone has had it up to here. He says, I think we're getting close. Again, this kind of ties back to my theory about the Sinister omniscience. Like, he knows he's pushing Psylocke too far. Sinister is well aware. So there's the possibility that, like, in an Inferno, that Sinister's undoing could be Quinone finally striking out, when it's the worst possible time for him, or it's he's playing her all along, And I think, like, probably we're all rooting for Psylocke in that instance. So, probably that means it is Sinister who's going to come out on top. Sinister Secret number 58 is one of the most interesting, I thought, on here. It says, still at early days of the Vescoran excavation of blight worlds, an unknown material of immeasurable worth has begun appearing in the crooked market. The Mad Jasper has snatched up every piece. Don't you worry, our Confederacy of Capes is set on acquiring some. Okay, so this is a callback to Ten of Swords. As we saw in Ten of Swords Destruction at the very end of the event, Otherworld, we have Saturnine. They are mining the dead worlds, these broken alternate reality worlds and other worlds. They are mining for this mysterious gem of sorts. These riches that they find there has Mysterium vibes. Is it the same thing that Sword has been procuring in space? I don't know for sure. It would be interesting if it was, because that would then these things come full circle and they tie together in an interesting way. But Mad Jim Jaspers controls a ton of this. Okay, Mad Jim Jaspers is a near Omega level reality warper, if you've forgotten. I think one interesting thing about looking at Mad Jim Jaspers and the wealth that he has obtained here in Otherworld, he also has in his possession Redroot, basically the Doug Ramsey of Arakko. Okay, if you remember from Ten of Swords. And I feel like Arakko should want to storm Otherworld to get Redroot. So we have this society of mutants that, again, has not been dealt with a ton in this era of X-Men, but they're very, they're a warring society. They've lived on very hard lands for the longest years, for many years, and I feel like they got to be itching to get one of their own, to get Redroot back, or at a minimum, like Arakko, again, another sentient island with thoughts and feelings, has to be pushing for that. I'd be pretty surprised if not. So I would definitely like to see, I would love to see, honestly, them go back to Otherworld and either barter with Mad Jim Jaspers for, this sort of shared Mysterium-esque wealth, or just all-out war, right? Just all-out battle to get back one of their own, So, all right. The other one that is a little vague, I think Sinister Secret number 59 is probably the trickiest, honestly, of all these. So let me know your theories on this one for sure, because I'm a little hard-pressed to figure this one out. But what it says is promotions are hard to come by when everyone is a resurrected immortal, but sometimes a change has to be made when an unexpected variable is added to the equation. Heroes in their do-gooder ways, always an inconvenience for a practical mutant. Okay. Vague. Made me think of Arakko Resurrection, the fact that, a promotion is hard to come by. What does that mean? Elevation of status, elevation of abilities, potentially, right? Made me think of when Wild Child and Nanny went through Resurrection after dying in Amenth, rather, not Arakko, but in Amenth or in Otherworld. They came back with enhanced senses. They came back enhanced. They leveled up. Their stats improved, right? Possibility here as well of chimeras, basically enhanced resurrections. Is this Sinister talking about, okay, we're already immortal. That's cool. Would it be even cooler if we could come back with all sorts of abilities? Would it be even cooler if we could enhance our stats intentionally through genetic manipulation? That's what I got for 59. I don't know what the heroes in their do-gooder ways has to do with that, aside from sort of the Quiet Council and the X-Men and Professor X basically being basically frowning upon Sinister's attempts to do these things, to build his own chimeras. They're not allowing that. They're not holding his hand, encouraging him to do that, especially when you look in the pages of Hellions where he's he's going to the great trouble of getting captured by Arcade in order to build a secret clone factory. So that's what I'm picking up from Sinister Secret number 59, but that one is a potential stretch. All right, we're coming to the end here. So you got questions, definitely get them in now. All right, and then we get a repost of Inferno's coming. If you haven't heard, check out some Crack Krakoa videos. Check out the Comic Book Herald YouTube channel. You might hear a little bit about Inferno. And then finally, Sinister Secret number 60. What Sinister? Someone has been hard at work studying the vile helix of a vile world. It's Mr. Sinister. That's Mr. Sinister studying Arakko DNA, specifically the Locus Vial that he obtained during the Hellions mission in Ten of Swords. He still has it. We're going to see the Locus Vial return including Tarn the Uncaring, who was basically the Amenth mutant version of Mr. Sinister. I am curious, as we see Sinister exploring chimeras, as we see him exploring enhancing mutant DNA, as we see him also exploring DNA of this Amenth Arakko set, what is he going to be able to do with that? Like, because this is one of those questions too, where you look at Powers number 9, when Sinister already had chimeras in that Moira lifeline, did he have Arakko DNA in that life? Because Apocalypse and Moira did go to Amenth to retrieve Apocalypse's horsemen. Would Sinister have had that material? Or is that new to this lifeline? We don't know for sure. I suspect it might actually be new. So I think, like, I don't know. Basically, I think it just makes more powerful chimeras. I think is the simple answer. But obviously, there's more to be explored there. So I'm curious about it. I definitely want to see it. I mean, I think too, like we just saw in Hellions number 12, the return of that second Sinister, who I think did they escape from Otherworld? Now I'm forgetting. But we might see a connection there of, like, the Sinister might already know things about that culture, about that way of life, that the Sinister we've been dealing with doesn't know. There's too many Sinisters, and there's always going to be. And it's always going to be complicated. But there you have it. Sinister Secrets, solved. I think we did it. I think we did it on day 1. I read this comic this morning. I got theories on all of them by Casual Krakoa time. So let me scan here quickly through some questions. And if I see any good ones, I will address them before I go. We have a question here from Tremaine. Asks, is this all a recap of one of Moira's lives? I mean, yeah, that's kind of the theory I was posing earlier about Sinister Secrets being like, this could all be from, the secrets could be from Life 11, talking about what we know happened in Life 10. The problem with that is somehow Sinister has to get knowledge from Life 10 to Life 11. Because right now, our understanding is the only individual who can do that is Moira herself. We have seen probably teased potential solutions for that, which would be like Rasputin and Zorn traveling through a black hole, and they're going to show up. I bet on it, but it hasn't happened yet. But Sinister would have to figure that out as well to actually have that information, right? We got a question here. They going to revive Maddie? Krakoa is not. Krakoa is not. They have made their bed in terms of the clones that they will willingly revive. That said, if we're going to have a schism of sorts between mutants, and Sinister is probably going to be involved on the Mystique side of things, Mr. Sinister likes making clones, and not only that, he likes making Madeline Pryors. So I would be a little surprised if we don't see at least one Madeline Pryor, possibly many more. If you've read the Kieran Gillen Uncanny X-Men, you know what I'm talking about. I bet we'll see Maddie in Inferno. It's not going to be a Madeline Pryor story, but I bet we'll see her. All right, let's see if we got any other questions here. If Beast is exposed and kicked off X Factor, I think you mean X Force, who will they replace him with? And who will be added to the team? Deadpool, etc. Yeah, we got a real Deadpool possibility, but not to replace Beast. Those are very different skill sets. I think probably what would be best if Beast does undergo trial and ideally get exiled. I think Sage just straight up taking his place would be the best answer. Although Sage is somewhat complicit in Beast's actions as well. So I don't know how successfully that would actually work. All right. I think we're getting near the end here. Thanks, everybody, for joining. I really appreciate everybody hopping on. We got a question here. Will you please upload these to Apple Podcasts after? You know what? If there's enough interest in uploading these as podcasts, I may consider it. Right now, definitely, I mean, you can just listen via YouTube. Obviously, I know that's less convenient for some. It is a bit of a process, not a huge one, but a bit of one. So if there's enough interest, I will consider it, but I need to see a number of people say they want me to do that before I commit. Final question before I go. During your interview, Rod Race revealed that Shadow King would confront the New Mutants. How will that happen, Dave? I think my theory for how New Mutants is going to play out. So the second arc, it was cool to hear Rod Race talk about Shadow King for sure. Like he's definitely into that character and excited about what's going to happen in New Mutants in that second arc. My theory for what's going to happen is we will get the New Mutants not under the Shadow King's influence. We'll discover what has been happening. We will get a good old-fashioned mutant battle. They will eject the Shadow King consciousness from Amal Farouk, giving Amal Farouk, separated from the Shadow King consciousness for the first time in a long time, a second chance in life. That's what I think is going to happen. I think how we're going to get to that point is interesting. I would be disappointed if we don't get more Professor X involved. Obviously, like he's being the arch enemy of Shadow King. But this being such a Karma-focused story so far, I mean, Karma's got a lot of reason to hate the Shadow King as well. So there's plenty there. And I'm excited to see it. It's going to be a really good second arc. Again, New Mutants is definitely one of the better Marvel comics right now and one of the better in the X-Men line. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. This has been Casual Krakoa. I'm Dave. You can find my stuff at comicbookherald.com, at Comic Book Herald on social. And I'll be trying to do these Casual Krakoas whenever I can on Wednesdays. So I hope you're all enjoying them. I get to get a lot of theories out. That's a lot of fun. And then my voice is always sore by the end. I don't know how some of those like sports radio people do like 2, 3, 4 hours. That's a skill. That's a trained muscle right there. Maybe one time a week, maybe that's not enough. Maybe I gotta up my game using all my words in 1 hour sessions 1 day at a time. But seriously, thanks everybody for listening, and it's much appreciated.